Let's try that again. Good morning, happy Friday. Can you believe that we are another week down? It is, in my opinion, completely, absolutely ridiculous, but you know what, we're here. So on the coffee run on a Friday, I love talking with you guys. I love talking in general, but really love sharing with you guys, good morning, the big learnings, the big insights that I've had this week, and how, hopefully you guys get something out of that. So as we're coming on, if you let me know what you're celebrating, let me know what your big insights or what your big learning has been for this week. So for me this week, I have been, there's been so many things that I've had to do, right? My to-do lists for this week have been freaking huge. And one of the things that I was feeling at the start, I think because we had a public holiday on Monday, I was feeling really quite, probably anxious is a really great word to use, like a bit overwhelmed. I knew I had loads to do. I've got Spy School stuff that I want to do. I'm running a new live webinar next week, so I've got to build out the content for that. I've got to build out the slides for that. And there were some things that I haven't done over the last couple of weeks that I really wanted to get done around podcasting and getting some emails scheduled and stuff like that. So at the start of the week, I was really like, for those of you who saw the video on Tuesday, you could probably feel that, or Wednesday or Monday actually, because we still went live on Monday morning. So that was an interesting insight for me. My whole, the thing that one of the big things that I've really changed over the last few months that most of you are aware of is around making these decisions only to do things, whether it's a webinar, whether it's an offer, whether it's an event or whatever, it's got to be fun. And I'm doing stuff because it's how I want to do it, because it's what I want to do. And I know that it's helpful, like that's in there automatically. But it's kind of like, I've got this big list of things that are really, really fun. And it wasn't feeling very fun on Monday. I was feeling quite about it all. So that was an interesting insight for me. The second thing that was kind of interesting was that my focus was just get grounded, work through the list. Even though I don't find the list fun, it eases up my brain space, right? So I know the things that I want to tick off, what I want to do. It's listed down there for every day, and I do that planning on a Friday. So the insight for me is that even with all of this infrastructure, even with all of this stuff going on, the second that I seem to slip into that I've got all this stuff to do mode, things kind of like almost fracture and don't flow as nicely and as easily as what they generally do. So my job, my celebration earlier on in the week was really about just going, hang on a second, come back, get grounded, do the things that you need to do. And you know what? Here's the insight and the learning and the celebration all wrapped into one of them. Nobody else knows what was on my agenda except for me, right? Nobody else knows what I'd promised myself that I was going to do. So I'm not actually letting, my whole thing is I don't want to let anybody else down. And no one else knows what my agenda is. Nobody else knew what it was that I was working towards. So that was kind of interesting for me to have that insight. I was chatting to a friend yesterday. We'd organised, she lives in Sydney, I live here, and obviously, and we didn't connect when I was in Sydney last week in person. So I said, you know what, let's just catch up and have a coffee. But we'll do it over the phone or over Skype or, whatever works. And she shared some stuff with me. This is a woman that I've met. Did I meet her? I think I maybe met her late last year, but really didn't kind of have anything to do with her prior to, I can probably be really specific around that. Probably the start of March, maybe even the start of February. So it's a reasonably new friendship. And on the call yesterday, she shared with me that she's been following me actually before we met, long before we met earlier this year. She said, she said, you about me, it was really lovely, and I guess this is a celebration. She said, you're so inspiring and motivating, and I feel like I get this, when I watch you, when I hear from you. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I remember in 2011, November 2011, I was working with a mentor. We were on this business retreat, and it was a business training retreat. And she was getting us to write out what people would say about us when we die. And I found that really kind of confronting and insightful and interesting and really deep. And I got really emotional while I was writing it. I might have to see if I can dig it up. I've probably got it floating around the house somewhere. But one of the things that I wrote in what I would love for people to say, somebody special to say at my funeral was, or is, Nicola is it's inspiring without realizing that she was, motivating without trying. And I think that this conversation that I had with this woman yesterday, she said that, and I was just like, holy fuck, this is almost, she was saying almost word for word, literally what I'd written down in November 2011 about what I wanted other people to say about me and about the impact that I was having. And like that, it really blew my mind. I had full goosebumps over my body. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much for, for sharing this with me, because, I'm just so incredibly grateful and really humbled. So that's a huge celebration for me. She also shared with me that the last few months, she's been watching me for the last few months pretty closely online, which I didn't know. And she said that she's really, really excited about the energy that you guys have helped build with me and the momentum that we're building. So, that was really cool. So she could see this shift in energy and this shift in drive, and that ties back into the fun commitment that I made earlier on this year, where I'm like, what, if it's not fun, I'm not fucking doing it. If a project doesn't light me up, I'm not going to take it on. So I'm celebrating that my commitment to you around just being open, being transparent, sharing stuff, talking to you, really connecting has had a really positive impact. So, really grateful for you guys who are both watching live and catching the recording. So, thank you. Tamara, now I can't see who else is on, but you guys, if you're happy to share your celebrations and insights, that would be really, really awesome, because I think we don't do this enough. And Tamara, I'll read yours out in a sec for the sake of the recording that happens off the back of this as well. But a lot of the time we're really, really great at looking at our to-do list and being disappointed, pissed off, disheartened because we haven't maybe ticked everything off, or because you're not quite where you want to be, or maybe you're miles away from where you want to be. I know I am. But we don't want to focus on that, right? Because that just kind of makes that gap bigger, and we end up beating ourselves over the head with a stick when nobody else but us has got this timeline in our head. So, I think celebrating and looking at the big learnings that you've had this week just helps to kind of almost document your progress, which is really cool. All right, Tamara, celebrating letting go of a few things that I've been trying to hold on to. Wow, that's huge. Freeing up time and mental real estate to focus on that which I know matters more to me. Beautiful. Congratulations. That can be really, depending on what it is that you've let go of, that can be a really, really big thing to do. And sometimes it feels simple, and then other times it can feel really freaking hard. I've had to let go of friends sometimes, or probably a couple of times in the last few years. Which is really hard, making those choices around what you want to allow into your energy and what you're going to allow into your space it's really hard. You know, if you're anything like me, which you probably are because that's why you follow me. It seems to happen. You know, I'm really loyal, and whether it's to a project, whether it's to a friend, whether it's to a commitment, whether it's to my kids, like whatever it happens to be, and making choices sometimes to let go of the stuff that, or the people, or the things, or the projects, or whatever that are no longer serving you can really tear at, you know, part of you when your values are probably integrity, following through, loyalty, family, and stuff like that. So I feel your pain, sister, and well done. Once you've done that, it's really important that you allow yourself space to heal and to process the emotions that come out of that, right? Because sometimes it's not really easy. Like you make that decision and you draw the line, but then that healing process can sometimes be, you know, longer. Sometimes it can be short. Just depends on what it is that you've got going on and how you're working through it. Sometimes as well, like it's interesting that letting go can be letting go of like old beliefs or old patterns that no longer serve you. It's kind of curious, isn't it? This whole letting go thing and evolution and getting you to where it is that you need to be. So probably another big insight that I have had this week that I'll just share with you, and then I'll set you free about your Friday. Something I was chatting with my husband about. So my husband's father owns a farm here, and my husband basically runs that with him. And we were talking, it's a really big operation, right? And we were chatting over the weekend about how their company structure looks, and I was chatting about what my company structure looks like, and kind of shifting. I mean, he knows, but we were talking it through. Just thinking about how we need to think differently in order to get to that next phase and get to the next stage of growth in our businesses. And not that it's his business, but he kind of runs it like it is. So for me, that's a bit like putting on a CEO hat and taking the Nicola who's in the trenches, who's doing the who's doing the coaching, who's doing the training, who's doing everything, putting on a CEO hat and going, okay, well, if I was coaching a client or mentoring a client essentially, or if this was a company that I was overseeing, that I was shepherding into its next phase of growth, what choices would I be making? You know, what decisions would I be making? What would we be investing in? What would we be letting go of? What do the numbers show us? And how do we need to get people around us, or who do we need to get around us in order to take us to the next phase and to the next level? So for him, for my husband, we were talking about, you know, we don't really they don't need to put in a full C-suite of people, right? Which that'd be crazy, and the salaries would be ridiculous. But I reckon that they could certainly do with a CEO who oversees everything, and then they might have somebody else underneath that, you know, goes and does all of the things, right? So you might have a managing director, or I've got a CFO. So, you know, that they might, I reckon that by shifting this structure around, it actually creates the freedom for both him and his dad to actually get out there and do the stuff that is their magic, that's in their zone of genius and stuff like that. Whereas they kind of, in my view, is like you can kind of be pulled from pillar to post when you are responsible for the whole entire operation of a company. So I was thinking about it for their structure, and then I was thinking about it for mine. And it's like, well, if I was a CEO and if I had a Nicola, like if I was managing a version of me, what decisions would I be making? Where would I be putting our money? Where would I be investing time? What would I be looking to grow? What do we need to do over infrastructure wise over the next 12 months to get us to where we need to be? So it's really important that we can create a mindset, I guess, of being able to come back and look at it from a big picture, and then come back down and do what you need to do. And I've heard of this concept a lot over the years. I've seen people and I've spoken to people who are like, well, who do you need to be in order to be a $2 million a year business owner? I'm just like, that doesn't even make sense to me. You know, who do you need to be? What kind of person do you need to become in order to make $1 million a year? What kind of person or what kind of business owner do you need to become in order to do $500,000 a year? And to me, I'm just like, well, I just need to be me. You know, that's how I need to be. That's what I need to do. You know, I don't know the thinking that needs to happen in order to get to $2 million because I've never done that. So for me, that created this really kind of big, almost like a disconnect. So instead of thinking about that, I think this framing around, well, like if I was overseeing my company, if I was overseeing the organization, if I was overseeing a team of people that I'm perhaps building in order to get to $250,000, $500,000, $750,000, $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, it just helps you to I think it's just a different way of framing it in order to get up and over and look at what it is that's going on. So I think that was a really big insight for me this week. So celebrating my husband being open to conversations like that. I am celebrating feeling motivated, having a whole bunch of external validation that I wasn't looking for this week come through. Brought on a couple of new clients this week, so that's really awesome. That really helps with cash flow, of course. Might as well talk about cash flow next week, actually. So that's today. That's Friday. I hope you all have a beautiful, safe, love-filled weekend, whatever it is that you are going to be doing. We are back on Monday for Monday Mojo, and I can't wait to hear your celebrations and your check-ins. Have an awesome day. Bye.